欢迎回到2019炉石战至 HCT 世界总决赛第2天赛程，我是今天主持人安娜丽。Welcome back to 2019 HCT World Championship Day 2. I am the host of the day, Anna Lee. 是的，刚刚呢，我们的2位3星大师呢正面对决，看起来是赛亚人技高一筹，已经抢先进入了8强。而接下来这一场比赛呢，是我们今天第2天赛程的最后一场比赛，将会是由我们的地主选手对上 bloodyface。那我们这个人气以及实力兼具的地主选手罗杰，才刚刚呢在我们的 HCT 冬季赛当中呢拿到了冠军，会不会以这一股气势再下一城，大秀一波，挺进8强呢？也请各位朋友们呢可以跟我们一起关注到最后。那待会选手出场的时候，我也要借我们现场所有的这个玩家朋友们的声音，好好的帮他加油一下，好吗？Next match will be the last match of Day 2, and the match is going to be hometown favorite Roger versus bloodyface. Okay, players, please come to the center.Please shake your hands. 好，再次帮我们的罗杰加油一下。Please take a seat.
My name is Bloodyface. I play for Lazarus. Or sorry, I messed up. My name is Bloodyface, also known as Brian. Alright, let me do it the other way around. My name is Brian Eason, also known as Bloodyface, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. My team is Lazarus.So 2018 was my breakout year, and I mostly attribute that to the fact that I didn't have a job distracting me from playing Hearthstone. Just able to commit to it full time and practice a lot more. Yeah, so just to give some predictions, I think that Control Shaman will not be doing very well. I think Control Shaman's pretty good against Sue, but it struggles a lot against Mage, Warrior, Hunter, Rogue, which is the vast majority of the rest of the meta.So I think a lot of people do see me as a lone wolf. I'm not really part of any practice groups.Actually, I queued into some other people that were queued for Worlds, and I automatically conceded against them because I didn't want them to get any information about what I was preparing. So actually, I've been playing against myself pretty much the entirety of Hearthstone. Even the first playoffs that I made top 4 of, I practiced by myself for it, and the championship, I practiced by myself for it. I did have some help with other players like Noblord, but I mostly just prepared against myself. And yeah, same thing for Winter Champ, same thing for Winter Playoffs. I was mostly just preparing games on ladder and just playing against myself. It's not to say I don't talk to anybody else. There were a few players I talked to, like I asked for Mitsuhide, advice from Mitsuhide. I asked for advice from Zerios and a few other players. So, it's not like I'm completely cutting myself off from getting other ideas, but when it comes to, the bulk of the play testing, I just do most of it by myself.
Hello 大家好，我是罗成元，然后我在游戏里面的名字叫罗杰。因为最近尤其是剪完头发去剪头发是因为想说，因为夏天也快到了，然后想说让自己整个人清爽一点，看可不可以到时候比赛的时候也不要看起来那么快睡着的感觉，对。因为其实我蛮预想到，就是因为我知道大家基本上16个人，就可能每个人都会带盗贼，然后刚好我想要就是去做一些战术上我用不到这个盗贼，所以我就很确定我很有可能就是那个唯一没有带盗贼的人，然后我又带了一个很奇怪的圣骑士，就会变成这样。我想说，好吧，打开来后发现，我的牌的确跟人家长得差蛮多的，对，我就觉得也还行，因为跟我预期的差不多，就是我想要去打的东西，他们都有存在，但接下来就是看我能不能去实行这个计划。我就觉得很开心，然后就是世界赛也有嘛，就是也有一个台湾选手的位置，然后我觉得很棒。如果除了我之外不会是，有可能那就看好陈泰啊，对啊，因为如果我没有赢，那就希望是会他赢啊，对啊。就是这次嘛，跟上次说的话应该是差不多，就是如果你天选之人投我的话，我会尽量帮你拿最多的卡包。
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the HCT World Championship. It's day number 2. It's time for the last match of the day. I'm TJ, joined by the Admiral. That's Admirable. It's a winner's match.
I'm stoked about this one. We have Such a great match that's coming up here as we close out day number 2. We've seen all of our initial matches now, and the stage is set. Our last winners match that we'll be having before we start getting into those big finishes for tomorrow. And it's going to be Roger taking on bloodyface. And bloodyface, in my eyes, is probably the most improved player, I'd say, over the last year and a half or so, and now is just a remarkable all-star when it comes to Hearthstone. And he's taking on Roger. And honestly, I feel like the story for Roger is that it is just another iteration of him just completely trying to hate out control decks. It seems like he does it all the time, every single tournament, and he's done it here yet again. His Summoner Mage banned away with Bomb Warrior, Death Rattle, Mech Hunter, and Control Paladin, taking on bloodyface with Tempo, Rogue, Summoner Mage, and Control Warrior. That Control Warrior in bloodyface's lineup, really the one to look out for, because that's the one that Roger is trying to target, and his decks are so greedy that so far it looks like he's going to get the job done.
Whoa, that was a lot of information to process. That's admirable, but thanks for the breakdown.
It was a lot, but I had a lot to say.
I can see that. I have a lot to say, too.
All right, hit me with it.
Actually, I only have one thing to say.
Oh, okay.
One of the, I'll use a phrase that you like to use here. One of the inflection points of the tournament so far has been the success of the Summoner Mage in the tournament.
That's not what an inflection point means, but continue.
No. It's an inflection point. And the inflection point of this inflection point is that Summoner Mage is currently 9-3 overall record in the tournament, which is a very good performance for a deck.
Yeah, it's 5-1 just today. And honestly, looking at the lineups from Roger and Bloodyface banning away the Mage deck from Roger, I think it is quite easily the hardest deck for the Control Warrior to beat because of how greedy Roger has built the list. So not really much of a surprise to see it taken out.
Yeah.
Roger also, to use a TJ-ism, as an inflection point in the tournament, is the only player who has yet to lose a game.
And another fun statistic to pile on top of that, this Paladin deck from Roger is undefeated in the tournament.
1-0. That's crazy.
That is insane.
Can't believe that he could be undefeated in the tournament in game score thus far, and the Paladin deck be 1-0. And honestly, I'm only being half facetious there because this Paladin deck is wacky looking, and you get a bit of a sense of what's happening from this opening hand, but let me go ahead and hit you.
Do you?
let me go. Well, it's a mech deck, right? There's Kangor's Endless Army. There's some sort of magnetized mech thing going on, but let me hit you with the 6+ mana cards.
Hit me.
2 Mechanical Whelp, a Countess Ashmore, Kangor's Endless Army, of course, the Undertaker, Tyrion Forgering, and Nozari. Let me hit you with the 5 mana cards real quick. Ziliax, War Gears, 2 of them. 2 Mechano Eggs, Harrison Jones. That's like half the deck. That costs 5 or more.
Yeah. This
is an aggro meta, TJ.
It's a weird deck. It is an aggro meta, but that's not Roger's strategy. He knew, or at least he thought he knew and ended up knowing.
Yes, that's typically how knowing works.
That pretty much everybody would bring Control Warrior. It's such a powerful deck, and even the players that don't necessarily have a strategy that revolves around Warrior being in their lineup, like a control strategy, even the aggro lineups are bringing Control Warrior.
Yeah.
He had the read that was going to be the case, and he said, you know what? I'm just going to counter that. And he even said, when we interviewed him before the tournament, he said, before he submitted his lineup, he second-guessed himself. He said, this is a crazy lineup. He said it only works if a vast majority of the field brings Control Warrior. And he was nervous. But then as soon as he saw the lineups, he said, I knew I was right.
Yeah. I'm going to go add a footnote and an asterisk to my statement.
An inflection point, so to speak.
Of this is an aggro meta. And I want to point out that the strongest deck, Rogue, is an aggro deck. The rest of the decks, however, are taking shape around that idea. And that's where Control Warrior really comes in. It does a pretty good job of taking on Rogue in that regard. When you have that aggressive deck with Rogue and you think about the decks that people are going to try to bring to beat Rogue, one of your natural steps then is to go, okay, well, what decks beat those? And a lot of times the answer is aggro decks. And it continues so on and so forth where a metagame develops and you have the aggro, the mid-range, and the control decks afterwards. Kind of an interesting meta that we're in early on here.
Yeah.
Rogue is ridiculous, but, you know, the rest of it looks pretty good to me.
Saw Roger give a little bit of a head shake there when he saw the Hench Clan Thug. There's really only one card that deals with a Henge Clan Thug that's unchecked on the board, and that's True Silver Champion.
That's correct. And, you know, looking at the list overall, Roger also has one copy of Valdor Peacekeeper, although that is, you know, at best a temporary answer to Henge Clan Thug.
Yeah.
He's got a couple of Noya modules to try to, you know, block some damage to just a 2/4 Divine Shield Taunt. But there is no equality and there is no consecration in this deck. There's no Wild Pyromancer. It is pretty much, by every stretch of the means, a weird variation of a magnetic deck. And I mean, like, just that's the game plan, magnetic.
Yeah.
There's not really much else going on. And it's kind of weird to think about that when Roger won in his last set versus Tyler, it was against Rogue. Now, I will say I don't think Tyler had the best hand in the world in that game. But the fact that this deck hung at all is very surprising to me.
Yeah. I would agree with you.
So Roger, with the play of the Crystal Smith Kangor, he's going to give himself one more opportunity to draw a True Silver Champion, because this is likely to demand attention here from Bloodyface. And so if Bloodyface is going to play that in the most face-up way, you have to attack it with Henge Clan Thug, because there are also 2 copies of Blessing of Kings in Roger's deck. And so Bloodyface is thinking, how on earth does this Henge Clan Thug get dealt with? So if he can kill the Kangor and he can protect it somehow, that's the ideal scenario.
Yeah. And you mentioned that Roger was able to take the victory against Rogue in the last series. But honestly, in the grand scheme of things, it's not really an important matchup for him. Yes, it gives him one additional chance to beat Warrior. That's essentially what it comes down to. But his strategy is to just beat Warrior. And he can do it 3 times in a row. I don't want to say no problem, but relatively easily. As close to no problem as you can get in Conquest.
I'll give you an idea of what that means. Pretty much every player I talked to here competing was practicing against Roger's lineup or helping somebody practice against Roger's lineup. And just time after time after time again, they'd come back and they'd be like, Warrior just doesn't beat Roger's decks. And then about a day and a half into it, Hunter Ace comes up, he goes, oh, we took a game off the Roger lineup with Warrior. We figured out how to do it.
Yeah.
I was like, does it work? He goes, sometimes.
I think 1 in 15 was the number that at least one player threw around in regards to
Warrior versus Roger.
Warrior versus Roger. And that's not even like 1 in 15 chance to win the series. That's 1 in 15 chance to just beat it once with one of your decks.
Yeah.
It's just miserable.
I agree with the coined war gear here. I think it's just the way that Roger can perhaps get back into this one.
Has a relatively clean answer for it. Doesn't get to keep the Henge Clan Thug growing, but gets to cycle through his deck a little bit.
Well, could draw prep. If he draws prep, the Henge Clan Thug gets to possibly keep growing. Oh, wow. Okay, so now a real decision point for Bloodyface. I imagine he's more interested in prepping the raiding party, but given the way that the matchup is, I could really see Eviscerate being an option and going from there.
I think with the way his hand is, he doesn't have a great activator for raiding party. So if he uses the prep on the Eviscerate just for the dagger up, I definitely don't think that's worth it. He wants to find that wacko pick. He wants to end this game before Roger's jank catches up to him.
Yes, it's ASAP is how you want to end the game. And so this is really the turn for Bloodyface, where this is likely the most important turn of the game in terms of Roger's hand. Mechano Egg, I think, is the card Bloodyface doesn't want to see, because that will then give Roger the possibility of having Ziliax and then the possibility of having Kangor's Endless Army. I think that's really the one way that Bloodyface loses in this spot. And since Roger doesn't have the Mechano Egg here, it's almost impossible for him to stick a minion for a turn, and Bloodyface is going to steamroll through this game as a result.
Yeah.
I wonder.
Is the Ooze in hand, but I just don't feel like the Ooze is going to be enough to fend off the next turn, because I'm not even convinced that Bloodyface needs to use Waggle Pick. Oh, okay, well now that he's drawn 2 South Sea deckhands, he definitely doesn't need to use Waggle Pick anymore.
Yeah. Also, with the board lead, Waggle Pick could be a liability with the possibility of Ooze. Like, imagine he were to play Waggle Pick there, and then he oozed and it brought back the Henge Clan Thug that he's invested all this early game in playing.
Yeah, True Silver is too little too late, and that's going to be game 1 to Bloodyface. But again, this is how we pretty much expect things to go.
Yes.
The Mage deck from Bloodyface, I think, is still pretty well positioned against Roger's lineup. You know, Roger's more concerned with grinding out a warrior versus a warrior game than he is about beating mage, although a lot of his decks have greed against mage. But the idea is that Roger is so favored against warrior that that is where he finds the win condition.
Yeah. Pretty expected game 1 win for bloodyface, and we'll keep saying it.
I'll keep saying it.
That is a pretty unimportant win.
Well, it's an important win because that means that the trend has now been broken. People were having trouble.
One additional chance.
People in practice were having trouble beating Roger. He went 3-0 in his first one. All of his decks hadn't lost a game. That trend's been broken now. Paladin lost a game.
bloodyface has given Roger his first game loss of the tournament.
First blood. Deface. Not really just much talk about that last game. If you don't have ways to kill minions, they'll kill you fast.
Yeah. Well, still a lot of series left to play. And a lot of exciting stuff still to come because Roger, targeting that warrior, has a lot of interesting tech inclusions in all of his decks and a lot of greed. If you like greedy Hearthstone, you're going to love this series. But before we get into game number 2, we are going to have to go to a quick break, but don't go anywhere. More HCT World Championship right after this.
The name bloodyface is not like something that has super significance with me. I was drunk playing Hearthstone with my friends at like 3 in the morning, and I was making an account, and I'd never played the game before, and we were watching a TV show called American Horror Story, and I was just could not think of a screen name, so I literally put down the first thing that popped in my mind. Little did I know it'd carry on with me into my professional career. I feel like as I climb the rank ladder, I'm definitely collecting more blood on my face, you know, the blood of my victims, as any serial killer would do.
Yeah. Different options as well, which is why it's confusing us.
Basically just freestyled on us.
I don't want people to come think I'm actually a serial killer, though. I quit my software engineering job earlier last year to pursue Hearthstone full-time. I wasn't qualified for any big tournaments when I quit my job. I wasn't a big streamer. I pretty much had next to no resources other than some money I'd saved up. And I basically had a dream of being a Hearthstone player, and I put in a lot of hard work and put in a lot of effort. You know, it is possible to, you know, take a risk and have it pay off.
bloodyface, showing that control can get the job done versus aggro, even with these quest rogues.
So it's pretty frequent that I'll stay up for 24 hours prepping. I feel a lot of anxiety, you know, getting closer to the deck submission deadline. I just want to make sure every card in my lineup's perfect. When I'm not playing Hearthstone and I want to find my happy spot, the best thing I do is just take a bath. I find taking a bath just to be very relaxing, just soaking in the water. To my fans, I'll stay as calm and collected during the match as I am in my bathtub.
大家好，我是罗杰，然后我来自亚太区，在玩一些类似游戏王的纸牌游戏，然后后来接触之后，我发现自己玩得不错，然后就一直慢慢玩，时间久而久之就到现在这样了，对，也没有说特别什么。就其实我一开始玩炉石是因为那个朋友介绍，然后我小时候其实就对我自己来说，我觉得跟朋友一起玩炉石这件事情是很重要，然后因为我们可以互相讨论，然后我们也可以互相进步，每次的比赛就可以一起作战，我觉得这也是可以一直往下走的很大的关键。我想就是因为我这个比赛其实就不光我自己准备，还有我一些朋友，我希望因为他们也有一起努力过这个比赛，然后我希望我可以把他们的那份也一起努力起来。就是其实有那么多人支持我玩游戏的风格，我觉得是不会，就知道自己有那么多人支持我，然后我会更加努力，然后更希望能发挥好自己的实力，然后拿到好成绩。我觉得就是也没有说想要借由这个比赛来证明自己，因为我觉得就算赢或者是输，就是也没有办法就让大家有别的就是其他的改变，但我觉得就是我希望我能发挥我最好的实力，然后这样我觉得就已经很足够了。
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the HCT World Championship. Once again, I'm TJ, joined by the Admiral. That's Admirable.
Howdy.
1-0 lead for bloodyface in this winners match. And a spot in the quarterfinals is on the line. A day off to watch the competition. to prep your brain. And that's it.
To relax.
To relax, yeah.
It's tough. I think it's really tough for a lot of these players to relax, and rightfully so. I mean, the entire year's pursuit in competitive Hearthstone is boiling down to this tournament, and there's $250,000 at stake.
Just for first place.
That's a lot of dollars. A lot of them.
Yeah. You know how long it would take me and Admirable to sit here and count from 1 to 250,000?
Now imagine doing it in pennies, so every 100 you get to is just 1.
Unfathomable. Mage versus Hunter is the matchup for game number 2. I feel like out of all of Roger's decks, the Hunter might be the most vulnerable. And I'm not even talking about this specific matchup. I'm mostly talking about the Warrior, because that's the inflection point of the series.
I wish you would just Google some of the words I use when you don't understand them. How long have you not understood what that meant for?
I don't understand 60% of the things that you said.
Oh, well, that's not a surprise.
I
but
nod
I'm
my head and smile.
Classic TJ. Zul'jin in opening hand for Roger. It's a little stuff to toy with here. Gonna be on the Summoner Mage for bloodyface, and a couple of the tech inclusions that are in here, the Rabble Bouncers, which I believe are becoming core to the deck, I would say.
Okay, that face from Roger, I mean, we can see that he only has one spell left in the deck, and that's the second Book of Specters. He had both Conjurer's Calling and opening hand.
Yeah.
Still a funny face.
A lot of 1/1s coming in.
Yeah, this doesn't even look like a weird mech deck at all.
It is. I'll get to in a second. I wanted to talk about the Mage deck.
Go ahead.
Rabble Bouncers becoming core. 7 mana, 2/7 taunt becomes 1 less mana for each minion your opponent controls.
Yep.
And then pretty straightforward stuff from bloodyface afterwards. The Dragon package in there, 2 mind control techs, a Harrison Jones, 2 copies of Astromancer, and then a Baron Geddon and a Mossy Harbor thrown in there to try to fight off the aggro decks in the later game. Have that sustained pressure where their development's concerned. Roger's deck is once again pretty wacky looking. You know, you see Zul'jin in the opening hand. The Undertaker's in there. 2 Unleash the Beast, Oblivitron, 2 Mechanical Whelp, Cairn, Ziliax, Harrison Jones.
I can't help it.
There's so many 5+ cost cards.
I can't help it.
And a lot of decks work that way, but most of those decks have a few more ways to actually fight stuff off in the early game. Like, typically when you have a greedy deck like this, like take a look at Bloodyfaces, for instance, you have Mind Control techs in there, Sunfury Protectors to try to turn your big minions into board leverage, Scale Worms for some sort of immediate impact. You look at Roger's deck, it's like Spring Paws, some Acidic Swamp Ooze, a Deadly Shot. Spider Bombs are good. That's always a good one to fight on board. What is this Archmage Vargoth doing in here? That's how greedy his lists are. He's just like, yeah, if it's a card I can play to do something with and has an additional benefit somewhere, it's going in. Yeah, his decks are quite bad versus any consistent aggressive strategy. However, they can get the job done sometimes. And sometimes in positions like this, he can become the aggressor. So Bloodyface is fearing like Deadly Shot in this spot. Spider Bomb Fireworks tech.
I honestly think in this matchup, just in general, I mean, I'm not an expert on this matchup. I don't think anybody is, because Roger's deck is just so unique. But I think you're holding Mountain Giant to be able to play Conjurer's Calling with it on the same turn. Just because of Deadly Shot, because of Spider Bomb plus the Firework tech, there's ways that you can get blown out of the game, and especially in that spot. He knows there's already links in hand. He's got a Leok on board that's buffing the minions. His Mountain Giant would die on board, and that's a really big tool to have for the Conjurer's Calling.
Yeah, and honestly, the Archmage Vargoth here does become pretty exceptionally scary in Bloodyface's position, because what that means is if he's holding on to these Conjurer's Callings and trying to just get that 1 turn secure, as long as that Archmage is there, Deadly Shot can threaten to take them both away.
Yep.
Just a 2/6 right now, but it's the effect that's threatening. And now Khadgar joins the party for Bloodyface. And so that is another thing to look for. Like, can he ever get to a turn where he's able to Mountain Giant Khadgar Conjurer's Calling? And, you know, in this spot, Bloodyface, I think, has more consideration for the Mountain Giant than he did previously, Because if Deadly Shot happens, that's the lone copy of Deadly Shot, and the Archmage impact is negated at that point. He's also opening himself to the potential of having the Khadgar Conjurer's Calling next turn if Roger cannot deal with it. So I think this is a good risk versus reward spot.
Yeah, also, you know, kind of just needs to deal with the Vargoth, really.
Yeah.
It can be really threatening, but just the fact that he draws Khadgar, you're taking that risk almost every time, because if that Mountain Giant lives, you win the game effectively.
The payoff is immense, and I don't even think it's effectively. I think he wins the game if this Mountain Giant sticks.
And it's going to stick.
Yeah, Roger has no way to kill it. This is actually an unkillable Mountain Giant for Roger this turn. And honestly, like, it takes a weird combination and 2 turns in order to take it out. Like, Bloodyface is going to be in a colossal lead next turn.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I think it's unrecoverable.
Yeah. I mean, I think, honestly, his best play is probably coin Unleash the Beast, because then he gets to cast Unleash the Beast again at the end of the turn.
I'm looking at, like, Mechanical Whelp and, like, maybe a Ziliax drawn can get to do something. I don't think Unleash the Beasts get there. I think it almost never gets there.
Honestly, don't think anything gets there.
I certainly don't think this gets there.
No. Roger just hoping that, yeah, he doesn't have it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the hope. I mean, and rightfully so.
But he has it.
Yeah, he does have it. And Roger doesn't.
Yeah. Bloodyface, though.
Easy trade.
Easy trade. Khadgar Conjurer's Calling is thinking, is there anything that could possibly punish me?
No. Well, there are, but just not in Roger's team.
Yeah.
Grave Titan number 1, Grave Titan number 2, and then Grave Titan number 3. Roger concedes the game. And I honestly, like, I actually need to commend Roger at that spot for the concession, because just save your mental energy.
Yeah.
Like, don't even try at that point. You're going to die in 2 turns. Don't bother.
Yeah.
Take a sip of your water, sit back and relax. The real test has now begun. Can Roger sweep the Warrior deck from Bloodyface?
And he knew very well coming into this tournament with the lineup that he submitted that many of his matches would come down to this scenario. These decks are not designed to be anything other than control decks that are designed to fatigue.
Yeah, like
that's essentially the only thing that his lineup does.
It's not, and you're not even kidding about that. Like, when you look at the early game cards, I'm using quotey fingers there. They're textile cards. They're cards that have utility in certain spots against control decks. They also happen to be minions, so you can fight against aggressive decks, but you need your aggressive opponent to draw really poorly for these styles of decks to win. And I think that was really part of the story in his first series, where Paladin was able to defeat Rogue. Tyler just didn't have the goods. And it got to a point where Roger secured Ziliax. He had the Anoia module stuck on a Mechano egg and found a Kangor's Endless Army turn. Like, that was enough to start to close that out. You have to have sap against tools that way, I think, to push with Rogue.
Absolutely.
You know, the fact that Bloodyface has taken these 2 games fairly easily is not a surprise. It looks strange because this is quite an unusual target that Roger has played with here. You know, targets are a thing in Conquest, usually not to this degree.
All right. So it begins.
And so it begins.
I said out of all the matchups, I think I like this one the best. And looking at the matchups, it's the Paladin deck that we saw in the game 1.
The Hunter deck, you mean? Oh, you mean the overall matchups?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
From Roger's perspective. Bloodyface has to beat one of these following decks with his Control Warrior. Paladin, which is the super greedy, magnetic.
Yeah, Magnetic Paladin.
It also goes to Fatigue because it has Immortal Prelate. It's a cool deck to be Warrior with. A Bomb Warrior from Roger's side and the Mech
Now,
Hunter.
I want to add a caveat to the Bomb Warrior because Roger's included a fairly unusual choice in the Bomb Warrior as well. Even it's teched for control and long style matchups. Archivist Elysiana, a Baleful Banker, and even a copy of Captain Greenskin to add durability to Wrench Caliber to continue to get more bombs. Just over and over and constantly throughout. He's trimmed to 1 copy of Brawl in the Warrior deck.
Yeah.
By the way, there are 0 Warpaths.
He's trying to beat Warrior. This is a Warrior deck that's designed to beat other Warriors. He's got Baleful Banker, Elysiana to go for Fatigue. And if it comes to that style of game, our rules for HCT, if a game goes to the turn timer, which is possible with Control Warrior versus Control Warrior, it's the player with the higher total life total with health and armor combined that wins.
Now,
And if you're playing very similar decks where you have bombs and your opponent does not, you're going to win those games more often than not.
Now, I want to point out another rule of that. I actually asked about this for clarification. If a game goes to a draw, if the series is not at 2-2, it's counted as a win and a loss for both players. So if
Just a win.
it's a win and a loss for both players, both decks get a check mark and they're locked away from the series.
Yeah.
If Roger queues up Warrior in game number 4 and it goes to a draw, bloodyface wins the series. He cannot queue it up until game 5.
Conquest pick order?
Literally conquest pick order, although it doesn't
mythical
matter.
beast?
Although it doesn't matter in this scenario for the most part. But he cannot have a draw take place. He can't. There's just no reason to risk it.
Yeah.
Of having the actual even life total in a turn limit game.
Yeah. We'll see.
Very strange.
We'll see if it comes to that.
I don't think it will, but I wanted to be prepared. I was like, I need to ask about this because if this happens, I want to know. We rolled around turn 4. Some stuff's happening now. Roger mainly looking for just a major turn where he absolutely starts to overload bloodyface with value-oriented cards. And some of the turns I'm looking at are when Mechanical Whelps start entering play, when Oblivitron starts to near, and when you find Zul'jin at some point. Those are really the big ones. There's no copies of tracking. There's no way to draw cards other than with Ursatron in Roger's deck. So once he, approaches that endgame point, even if Zul'jin is his last card, as long as his life total is fairly healthy, he should be okay in a fatigue scenario to just keep the pressure going and, basically be able to keep bloodyface to that test. I think it's possible that Roger could go, 4 or 5 draws into fatigue and probably still win.
Yeah. And that's almost exactly what he did against Tyler in his first series. He did take him to fatigue, ran Tyler out of cards, forced Tyler to play the Elysiana. He even got some decent tools with Elysiana. He had brawls. So he had tools to fight, but at that point it was just too much pressure. Now, it was close. And if Tyler had maybe a little bit better of a mid-game, we could have been looking at a different story because Roger was effectively out of cards in that matchup. And bloodyface does have maybe a few additional tools to fight. The one big difference here is there is 0 silence effects in bloodyface's list.
Yeah.
He does have double Omega Devastator, but no silences can be a big deal in this matchup.
Yeah, does have an added Big Game Hunter as well. And so I think that in the late stages, Omega Devastator and Big Game Hunter function fairly similarly. The kicker to that is that Roger has the Undertaker in his deck. So the 3 death rattles from that can be immense and can make a difference. So, that's a minion you really want to be able to silence towards the end stage. I'm a little bit surprised that Roger went with the Spider Bomb on this last turn. It sort of in my head, I almost feel like Spider Bomb should just not be coming down because you really want your Undertaker to be loaded up with summons. And so Spider Bomb I feel like can be saved for key points. You have a Houndmaster Shaw in hand. You can just trade the Spider Bomb for a 1/2.
Yeah, but the thing is, there's just not, even though it's kind of a Death Rattle deck, there's not really many Death Rattles.
It's a true story, but there is Mechanical Whelp, there's Oblivitron, there's Spider Bomb, there's Ursatron. So you have 4 right there.
And Cairn.
And Cairn, so it's 5 now. 3 of those summon, 2 of them do not. And it's very realistic he ends up, getting Spider Bomb and Ursatron on an Undertaker at the end of the game.
But the game plan is not revolving around just the Undertaker. If he has it in his hand, if he's planning just playing on curve, he does just want to get all these Death Battles in the pool. If he plans to go Cairn into Mechanical Whelp into the Undertaker,
that's very possible. If that's
then
the
he
case,
just wants to get his Death Rattles in the pool. And also for 9 lives, maybe Spider Bomb is kind of necessary. Probably not, but
I'm looking at the list over on bloodyface's side, and I'm trying to think of a single minion where
Darius Crowley. That's about it. Or a Ziliaxed Hecklebot.
Yeah, it sounds to me like I want to save the Spider Bomb. I don't know. Just something to think about. I mean, there's not really much else going on in this stage. I mean, it's going to be a while before something very important happens. Aside from that Spider Bomb, I think that Spider Bomb could be very important.
I'm going to tuck that one away in the back of my brain. Later on in the broadcast, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Light the fuses!
Give me about 45 minutes until this game is about to come to a close. And then we'll reevaluate.
Yeah, if you're like me and you like the grueling, long battles, this is certainly the series that you want to be tuned into. I hear so many players talk about, like, I can't stand these long games, and in the back, Raven's like, God, you should just concede, TJ. Or TJ's telling Raven, rather, that he should concede, and Raven plays him out when we're sitting in the back playing games. I'm not a concede because the game's going to go long person. I'm a play for the long shot person. I want that victory.
You want that inflection point.
Sure.
Dig for it.
Ooh.
Oh, he's got 2. Okay.
One copy of Super Collider is in bloodyface's deck, so having a second boost for it there. It's really, I think, just think for tempo. You know, like, one of the ways that I think Roger could buy a lot of value in the matchup is by forcing bloodyface to use tools, lest he take too much damage. And I think this little bit of pressure is certainly something that can get that done.
Absolutely.
You know,
Forcing bloodyface to use pretty much anything at this stage in the game gives him a leg up in the long term.
Yeah, like, one of the things you don't want to happen is to have mechanical weapon play and have bloodyface be able to use the weapons project to crack the mechanical whelp and then brawl. You know, the oozes, I think, very likely to hit for tempo in those kinds of situations. Because there's almost no way that Roger's playing Undertaker before mechanical whelp is in the pool.
I would agree with that statement.
Lots of little annoying things. Things that chip away and threaten to have a strong death rattle. They've historically been very good against Warrior.
Yeah.
I'll add an asterisk to that and add Pirate Warrior into the mix there, but semantics.
Yep. Trying to get that mechanical whelp online. Make sure he has that activated for the Undertaker and 9 lives. Thinking about it, though, this is not the time to rush your plays.
I was about to note that...
I don't need
Whoa.
I buried them!
I am quite surprised by that.
It does get the triple death rattle.
You know what? This actually is kind of interesting to me because the Ursatron that's attached to it, if that draws Oblivitron, Roger wouldn't have a mech in hand for the Oblivitron to activate on. And so I'm curious if he's thinking about that. I mean, that to me would be the most obvious reason to do it this way.
He does have a few other mechs still left in the deck, though. So I think it's like a 1 in 4 maybe to draw the
it's just one of those. It's just one of those in case it happens sort of things. Like, I think when you're playing these big mid-range decks, you do really need to think about what is your best and perfect outcome in a lot of these scenarios. And if your best and perfect outcome is you get Oblivitron from this Undertaker dying, and you have a mechanical up still in your hand because of that, that sounds like a good deal to me.
And as I mentioned earlier, the Undertaker's not...
It's not core.
It's not core. It's not the
necessary.
main game plan of the Hunter deck. It's just an extra tool that helps you fight really well against control decks.
Just a big, dumb thing.
That's right.
And big, dumb things are good against control decks.
And if you get a resource out of a big resource out of Bloodyface here, you're probably feeling pretty good. If Big Game Hunter comes down here, that means those 7/7s that come out of that mechanical whelp.
It means that Big Game Hunter is going to go away. So Bloodyface, I think, has found a reasonable way to try to contest this Undertaker, but some damage is going to start pouring on. And so for Roger, you know, I'm curious how much more you need to add to board in a situation like this. I think the Animal Companion is a bit dangerous, specifically because of Super Collider, but if your opponent has a Super Collider to Undertaker, to kill it into your Huffer, that sounds like a pretty reasonable deal to me. Also, if you get Huffer, you might just trade it off.
Yeah.
Wow, saving the Wind Blast and taking 6 damage instead.
I don't think he cares about the damage. Bloodyface is not going to be applying pressure.
And the Shaw as well.
My pack will hunt you down.
I'm plumb surprised.
He's saying if you brawl here, I still have a 4-5. It's one brawl out of the way.
I think if I'm bloodyface, I'm almost certainly brawling here. I don't really know if he has an option.
But if he brawls here and Undertaker doesn't live, he's still looking at 2 reasonably sized minions. Because it's whatever survives the brawl.
You got to do something. You can't just sit here.
He could Hecklebot brawl, but then if you Hecklebot and it pulls out a mechanical whelp,
yeah, I think the Hecklebot needs to be saved for like a very specific moment. And I definitely don't think this is it. Like, I feel like if you Hecklebot here, you can just die.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a Hecklebot Zilliax. I could see that, but I feel like stuff like Deadly Shot is so massive against you at that point. You know, another Spider Bomb effect. Just so many things can go wrong. Bloodyface is digging deep, though, and I don't blame him. Leads with shield block. I could see Big Game Hunter being the play and then look for a brawl on turn 10. I think that's very reasonable.
Yeah.
You're not going to have any minions in play anyway, so the Shaw effect is negated. Wow.
Ho, ho.
Wow. All right, well.
So does he want to go BGH brawl?
Well, Bloodyface just strapped on his big boy shoes and said, all right, I'm taking a hit here. This is a chin check right here. How steel and iron of a chin does Bloodyface have? That is a lot of Damahe to take. I would not take that much personally. I think this could be foolish.
Sometimes in unfavorable matchups, you got to take risks, but that honestly doesn't seem like a risk to me. That just seems like he wasn't entirely sure what he wanted to do, so he wanted another turn to evaluate and hope that Roger potentially overextended into a brawl.
Yeah, I don't want to use the word foolish, but I wanted to let you know that that's the word that came to my head. I'm not quite confident enough to call it that, though.
All right, well, now he's seen a mechanical whelp, so Hecklebot brawl is a little bit better.
Dead or alive.
So the order of death rattles here is pretty massive. Undertaker would happen first, drawing with the Ursatron, and then the Oblivitron would activate should they both die simultaneously.
Unity. Precision.
I don't know, Kev.
He's going to heal up to 20. Deadly Shot's going to take this out. 18 damage showing.
Yeah, Bloodyface is about to go to 2. He took too much damage here. I see what the game plan was, though. If that Deadly Shot wasn't there, I think Bloodyface had a really strong opportunity to actually recover from this spot. And I think given what just happened, it's unrecoverable. Oh, Weapons Project. So you can Weapons Project, attack the Mechanical Whelp, and then you can Brawl, Armor Up Shield Slam. So if Roger draws a mech that doesn't do anything, and then the Oblivitron activates on that, Bloodyface can get an almost entirely clear board in this spot.
You also still have to think about whatever minion survives from the brawl. If Undertaker survives...
I just forgot as well that the Weapons Project gives Roger the 2/3 weapon as well. So in the situation I described, 8 damage, very possible in that regard.
He still has the Vicious Scrap Hound to maybe gain a little bit of additional armor if he absolutely needs to.
Well, he doesn't have... That doesn't do anything right now. It's just a 2/2.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have Rush. What a world we live in.
Wow, Oblivitron wins the brawl.
Okay.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, the Spider Bomb has magnetic, so that's enough. There we go. Roger gets his first point on the board. Bloodyface played a bit risky there, but I see what the plan was. That's
one big swing turn.
That's the desperation that Bloodyface felt in the matchup. Now, if you ask me, I think that play was a bit foolish. I think Bloodyface should have used Big Game Hunter and then looked for a brawl on the following turn to try to clean things up. I think the way he played it, you cannot just take 2 cracks from an Undertaker and go, this is fine. I don't believe that's true.
But on the other hand, you bet your little booty Bloodyface has played this matchup a ton since the deck list were revealed, knowing that Roger was in his group.
Yes.
And maybe in practice, being greedy like that with his removal and waiting for that one big swing turn was how he won that matchup the majority of the time. So it's hard to like fully get into a player's mind because they do so much preparation leading up to these big events, and bloodyface maybe is tunneling on a specific strategy that worked for him in his testing.
Again, I see what his plan was, and his hand wasn't stacked to the brim. I think he needed a big swing turn like that. I think Undertaker was just not the turn for him.
Yeah, but you can see Roger's strategy coming into fruition here with the first win against Warrior. But the question is, can he do it 2 more times to come back in this series and move on to the quarterfinals? Well, I'll tell you what, Admirable, we're going to find out right after this.
My name's Brian Easton, also known as Bloodyface, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. I've played a lot of different card games in the past competitively. I actually used to play poker professionally online before the US government shut down PokerStars in full tilt. I've always just wanted to play games my whole life, and I think Hearthstone right now is my favorite game to play. No other card game I played has so many smooth features as Hearthstone does. So I think Hearthstone tournaments go a lot deeper. When you play against somebody that's also giving it their all, and they really care about it and you really care about it, it's just so much fun. It's kind of like an adrenaline rush. Nothing really compares to it. I was studying computer science, and my last job was a software engineer, just basically coding all day, every day.
I quit my full-time job a few months ago and was streaming full-time.
My family wasn't thrilled when they heard I quit my job to play Hearthstone full-time, but I think they do support me. They were mostly concerned about me finishing and graduating college, which I did, thankfully. So if Hearthstone doesn't work out, I still have a good safety net. Being in a game like Hearthstone, I just want to be at the very top. It's not really enough for me to have moderate success. If I don't make a breakout performance and get to the very top, then I honestly might just go back to doing software development.
Welcome back, everybody, to the HCT World Championship. I am joined by That's Admirable, and my name is The Admiral, TJ.
That's not...
And we're about to jump into game number 4 of this winner's match between Bloodyface and Roger. And the first 2 games, they told a short story. The last 3 games, that's a novel.
It very well could be. I think that looking at these decks side by side, I can see Bloodyface coming away winning some of these. However, it doesn't look like it's a very good chance for him. And so, to reiterate on this Paladin deck, it is basically a magnetic Paladin deck. Your goal is to make some massive stuff and have Kangor's Endless Army and the Undertaker be too much for your opponent to handle at those end stages of the game. And I think that very well can be true in this matchup, where Bloodyface, kind of akin to the way that he played the last one, I think that that's potentially a better way to play against this Paladin deck in the grand scheme of things, because there are so many ways that Roger can run away with just an immense amount of value. And if you leave something on board to try to make one of those plays, punish you with the Blessing of Kings. However, the caveat there is he has to punish with Blessing of Kings. And so talking in an interview about this matchup and Bloodyface going over his odds of winning and so on and so forth, He talked about not including a silence in the Warrior deck because who would be crazy enough to implement a strategy like Rogers? And he goes, well, Roger proved me wrong. He brought this crazy stuff where I need silences.
Yeah. Well, so the glaring issue to me is not the fact that there's no silence for all this magnetic nonsense. The fact that there's no silence for the Immortal Prelate. Roger can never fatigue.
It's true, but I mean, Bloodyface is in a nice similar spot to that. With Archivist Elysiana and Youthful Brewmaster, it is pretty tough to actually go into fatigue for more than just a few points. So kind of talking about that Conquest rule that I described, where if the game goes to the turn limit, it's counted as a check mark for both players unless it's game 5. I think that that's a realistic win condition for Bloodyface.
Well, the problem is Roger's going to be drawing probably what is a large thing at that stage of the game over and over every turn. Whereas Bloodyface is going to be drawing something that he discovered off of Elysiana.
Sure, but I'm looking at Dr. Boom Mad Genius in hand right now, and there's 2 natural copies of Omega Devastator in Bloodyface's deck. He doesn't necessarily have to fatigue Roger or beat Roger. He has to take it to a turn limit. That is, if I'm correct in the rule, which I'm hoping an admin is listening and can get me some word on this, I really hope I didn't dream this in a weird lucid dream.
No, you're correct.
Okay, there we go.
If they go to turn limit and it's effectively a tie, both players win.
Yeah, that's a real win condition for Bloodyface, I think. Whoa.
Tempo!
Defend the gates!
Get him!
The bigger one to me is that's the brew gone from Elysiana. So Bloodyface has said, that turn limit nonsense, that's not possible.
Yeah. I just think at some point he's just never gonna get there, right? Like this deck just has so much punch in the late game.
Darius never getting another overkill again.
Well, he's got Boom on 7. That helps.
It helps, but my goodness, Roger's hand is so much big stuff. And this is, I don't like this kill him plan. I really don't. I think that Brewmaster was foolish. I'm going to say it this time. I think that Bloodyface's realistic win condition is amass a number of Omega Devastators and just generic neck stuff in general. Then you take it to a turn limit. I genuinely think that is a realistic win condition this game, and it's gone now, I think. Not entirely. I mean, Elysiana still discovers cards, so you could find some way to do it again. But I think his hand was good enough to get to that point. I really believe that. You still have to have a lot of things go right. But this Darius Crowley go face, use the Brewmaster, kill the 5/5 thing for tempo with your militia commander, that's not going to work. That's not how the deck works.
Quickly.
I don't buy that for a second. Prove me wrong. I double dare you. All right, I was getting a little out of hand. Sorry.
Sometimes it just bees that way.
Great Robert Minnick once said that. He had an unlucky string of cards. He rattled that off. He walked out the shop. Never saw him again.
I don't know who that is.
This would be a good
The guy I got the quote from.
Okay.
That was like 18 years ago now.
Only 90s kids would get it.
Yeah, well, get this.
Potion 3.
Good thing Roger only has Tyrion, Ziliax, no Zari.
That belongs in a museum.
So one of the funny things about Roger's Paladin lineup that we called him out on when we interviewed the players before the match took place is the double Crystology in his deck. He actually only has Bronze Gatekeeper, Acolyte of Pain, and Crystal Smith Kangor as one attack minions in the deck. Which means that even if he doesn't draw any of those, if he plays one Crystology, his second Crystology will only pull 1 minion maximum. And we asked him about it, and he's like, yeah, he said, I realized after I submitted that, probably should have cut that second Crystology for a Bronze Gatekeeper. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter.
That's exactly what I was gonna, really follow up on is look at how much mana is in Roger's hand right now. Do you really think he cares about a single dead draw sometimes? No siree, Bob. There's 44 mana in hand right now, not counting the echo on Sound the Bells.
Yeah.
So you could tick that up to 52, and I didn't count the Crystology.
I think the highest win rate play there was to just play Elysiana and hope you get Grom, Interrage, Grom, Interrage.
No, I don't think that's true.
I think it likely. It definitely is not the highest win rate play. Bloodyface's hand, though, is starting to look more and more meek.
Yeah, and again, that's why I dislike the pressure plan, literally because of that.
Yeah. He did, he got a good amount of damage in. He brought Roger all the way down to 18.
Ooh, 12. That's a very aggressive warrior start.
Also, the funny thing is, Dynomatic just much weaker against these decks that Roger's brought.
Yeah, I'd be curious to actually see if Bloodyface maybe can time that for something. Like this
there are
3-7,
a lot of non-mechs, but
like this 3-7's not doing anything right now. Like big deal, it's going to heal him back to full. Well, that plan sailed out the window as soon as Darius Crowley got Aldor Peacekeeper. Like literally that lone card and about 17 other cards in the deck did it.
Well, there's only 2.
Mechano Egg was good enough, I think.
Probably.
Yeah.
With Ziliax in hand, Mechano Egg was definitely good enough.
Yeah, and so I think given that sort of circumstance, Bloodyface needs to find extra value from somewhere. And if that means holding on to this Dynomatic until, it just deals some damage to a Tyrion and maybe, a Dr. Boom hero power can finish it off, that's probably something he needs to consider. Wow. He is just going in. Yeah, at this point, I think I probably would have rather just lasered the egg and called it a day. I see Bloodyface's concern, though. You do want to use your shield slams before your armor gets shredded off.
Yeah. Especially post Dr. Boom, you just have that 1 and 4 each turn to roll the blast shield to try and get the additional armor.
Whoa! Whoa! I'm gonna... Help me! What was that?
I'm offended.
I am extremely offended.
All right, let's take a step back and think about what that means.
It means Bloodyface has 8 extra health. Where do you think the 1/1s are going? Surprise?
Were there any...
I know for a fact that attack was not correct.
Were there any health break points that defended against? Any other magnetic possibilities that could have made the difference? No, because he made the trade himself.
Let's take a look at the burst damage from Bloodyface's deck. 1 copy of Super Collider and a magnetic Ziliax. I suppose in the face of a big game hunter.
Ooh, a Mega Devastator.
You're going to need a bunch of those.
Well, let's start counting.
Yeah, and the health breakpoints, you have an Uzari in hand. It's just 8 extra healths for... I'm flabbergasted. I know it's past. I'm just upset.
I think he's just flexing.
That's possible, I guess. He's like, check this out.
Yeah. You dare me to trade this 8 attack minion into a 1/1?
Think about how mad Admirable is going to be.
Reporting for duty. I don't make mistakes. I bury them.
Yeah, that card is really good when a warrior player doesn't have a silence.
Yep, Mortal Prelate plus the Undertaker.
Yeah. You can hear the claps in the crowd.
Yeah, they're like, oh, cool.
I will admittedly, that's impressive. Like, it's very rare that you get to see the card this utilized in a tournament setting, let alone at World Championships.
Okay, then.
That's how I feel.
Now, we talked earlier about saving your mental energy.
I think bloodyface can still win this game.
Okay.
I really do. Look, Dr. Boom could do some silly things.
What odds?
Oh, good enough that you need to keep playing.
Okay.
And even if that's like 1,000 to 1, I think you need to keep playing. Like, the game means so much. This game right here, if bloodyface manages to just hit Jin the entire way and win, could be the difference in winning and losing the tournament.
I agree, but I do think this is also the hardest matchup for bloodyface to win with the Warrior deck.
Now it's just a point of pride when you say that.
True.
Brawl term coming.
And it's back in the deck.
Wow, imagine if bloodyface just had 8 less health.
Yeah.
Ooh. Wow, okay, so pretty crazy outcome here. And that's what I mean, like, stuff like that can happen. Bloodyface still has Ziliax in hand. He needs to hang on to that for a dire moment.
All right, I'm going to lower those odds now from 1,000 to 1 to 500 to 1.
Very scientific numbers.
Reason being, there's a chance that Elysiana picks up a silence.
What if it just discovers 5 brawls?
No, because he's just going to play 1 minion at a time.
So here's how it works. You go Dr. Boom Hero Power Discover, get Omega Devastator, you brawl, you Omega Devastator.
Okay.
Roger develops, use a 7 armor hero power. It flips back over to Discover again. You just keep getting that over and over.
So if he can keep removing these board states and eventually get to the point where he plays Archivist Elysiana, that card can do some crazy things. It can get a lot of weird stuff.
It's unusual that happens, but it can happen.
Most of the time, it gives you cards that you're not super happy to draw one of each turn.
Picture Arena. Ooh. Bloodyface got some stuff cooking now. I can see him hanging in here for a while now. He's still got 2 Warpaths. Still got the other copy of Brawl. Has now picked up Omega Assembly. You just got to get the right outcomes.
Okay, then.
So looking for one Omega Devastator, doesn't find it. Galvanizer. Weaponized Pinata, though. That could be interesting.
Trying to think of the best legendary that Bloodyface could find.
Oh, I love that music.
Caligos seems like it could be pretty good. Potentially hand you a lot of extra mana.
Azalina?
Azalina could be very good. Because Azalina maintains the buff, so like if there's a turn, say that Roger, for whatever reason, didn't play Undertaker, and you Azalina that from your hand,
Let me think.
possibilities.
Elysiana?
I think he needs some board impact. Roger is just... If he attacks this Galvanizer with this 5/5, I'm going to be shocked. Okay.
I think that time would have been even worse considering he had a 2/2 to attack it with if he really felt like he wanted to trade.
It was very weird to me.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I'm not over it. I need a minute. That poor face damage.
Take all the minutes you need. We got plenty of them left.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, then.
These are very difficult turns to navigate.
Yeah, honestly, stuff like Pinata Ziliax being discounted is like a really major deal too. Like, the thing about it is Bloodyface needs to find a way to leverage health effectively and then have the Ziliax to be able to leverage the tempo swing and get back the life that he's used. I think that's really the game plan for Bloodyface, and that is a very long, elaborate position to get to. And that probably means something in the vein of taking a big hit from an egg.
A BGH in the weaponized pinata to rush in.
Well, I think here I would probably save the pinata. I'm probably looking more towards using the hero powers. You do still need to conserve resources. The resources need to be relevant, though. So I think you just bite the bullet here. Take the damage.
Yeah. Weaponized pinata, the only reason I can see for playing it is if you get a legendary that could affect your game plan, but I can't think of a single one that would do that.
Yeah. And then also, it's like Bloodyface needs to be cycling these hero powers when they're effective. Undertaker gets drawn again.
I was just like, oh, cool. Forgot I had that. What else did I put in this deck?
Yeah. Has he drawn Crystologies yet?
He drew a Crystology, yeah.
Okay.
One card that I didn't mention earlier because I just always assumed that it's buffed was the Immortal Prelate. Gonna get another one.
Yeah, those are the only death rattles in the deck, so it's going to keep getting those. So Bloodyface.
Well, Tyrion Forging is also death rattle, so that could muddy the pool a little bit.
Right. I don't think that Roger is interested in playing Tyrion this game. I actually think Tyrion stays in hand because you really don't want to risk Immortal Prelate not hitting the Undertaker.
Yeah, you just want to keep...
Oh, another Ziliax. Oh, that's a big deal. You know, unlike the Hunter game, Bloodyface, again, he's free to take some amount of damage in this matchup because it doesn't have that compounded pressure. It doesn't have that hero power chipping away too on top of the things that are happening. There's no weird, crazy turns that are going to be absolutely insane. It's leverage your life total, buy some tempo, use the Ziliax to do it again and get the life back.
Precision.
So a spot like this, you know, this one's a little bit rough because Roger has a way to magnetic onto that to crack the shield. I don't know about that Ziliax usage. I personally would not have done that. I would have taken the hit for 8. But it's situations like these where there's so much subjectivity to every single thing that happens. Like, to say with authority that one thing is right or wrong, outside of that trade into the 1/1, definitely can't do.
Never gonna let it go.
It's a feel, it's an intuition. How experienced are you?
Are you kind of picking up the direction of where this game is going?
I am.
It's Infinite Undertaker. Bloodyface is picking up resources to kind of deal with the board state.
It's fight for turn limit. Again, it sounds crazy, but the fact that Brewmaster's gone, that's what worries me.
Move quickly.
Yeah.
It really worries me because I think that Bloodyface has a very realistic chance of taking this the distance. Turns like that are terrifying.
So he gets Grom
No.
from the weaponized pinata.
The damage can't happen. The rest of it
But
can.
you're picking up what I'm putting down.
I'm picking up what you're putting down. I'm going to make sure we keep it down.
I see Grom, I think one thing.
Trade.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
See what I mean? Spots like this. Like, did that Ziliax really need to be used? It almost put him in a worse position because Undertaker could trade in.
Yeah.
Perhaps he was thinking about last game, where he's like, I didn't do enough to contest that board. Applying that in there as well.
Yeah, kind of the benefit that we have is that we have a bunch of people all watching the same game. Me and you are watching it. People at home, if they're not watching with anybody, they at least got Twitch chat. But Bloodyface and Roger are up there on their own. They can't talk to anybody between these games. They have nobody to bounce ideas off of.
Major outcome there. Bloodyface needed that to happen. He needs Immortal Prelate. I'm sorry, he needs the Undertaker to probably be the last card in Roger's deck as well. Oh my. Wow.
Just keep them coming.
And that's, this is what the deck's designed to do. And I think now Bloodyface is officially in trouble. He needed that to be the last card because this is where the tempo battle was really occurring. And he might have officially lost it. You're gonna have to discover some real good stuff.
I can't even think
Well, Mega Devastator, that's always the one you want.
But even then...
Scrap Hound is a good second because Magnetic Ziliax onto that effectively doubles the lifesteal.
Yeah.
Returns with the armor on top of it. He just doesn't have a way to fight the tempo this turn, and that's probably enough to buy Roger this game.
But this is going to be just check after check after check.
Oh,
Bloodyface,
then.
at a certain point, will have to just check every Undertaker. Turn after turn after turn. Into Fatigue, into Elysiana.
And think about how you do that. It's by some point gaining tempo. Roger has no way to reset that tempo other than creating board tension. Yeah. That is it. And it does it extremely effectively in this kind of matchup. But Bloodyface has been reduced.
Oh, this is cute. The damage from Missile Launcher will actually gain the armor.
It's a true story.
It's a Scrap Hound.
Yeah, that's a good way to, perhaps buy some of that life total. Maybe find a turn where you can get some time. But
yeah,
again, just the Undertaker is just so massively powerful. We haven't even seen Kangor's Endless Army yet, have we? I don't think we have.
I don't know. I don't think so.
And look at the punish here. Roger knows that the brawls are gone.
Omega Devastator. Can take out this 10-11.
Honestly, and kind of look at this turn right here with the way that Omega Devastator with the Ziliax will work. Bloodyface can just chin the 10 to knock it off with the 2-1 weapon.
And then heal it back up at least some. And even plop, because of the Galvanizer reduction on the Ziliax, can even play the Blast Shield to have a big health gain swing here.
Yeah. I think this is one you can take on the chin. However, I also think it's one where you can just use Ziliax. I think it's more effective to chin it, though. Don't even have to attack the Undertaker in this spot. Make Roger take 2 turns to activate that Death Rattle, and buy yourself some tempo and some leverage. That's the key. So now that Undertaker has lifesteal forever, but the Tyrion's gonna come down here. This is a big moment because now Roger can lose the Immortal Prelate buff on the Undertaker. It's a possibility now.
Could lose it forever.
And another Omega Devastator gets drawn, and that's a really big deal.
That Tyrion play is actually pretty crucial.
I think that's a blunder from Roger. And Bloodyface, look at the difference in body language since he's been seeing what's happening now. That's a mistake from Roger to risk the Undertaker in that manner.
I'm trying to figure out a reason why he would play it. He's not under too much pressure. Maybe he's thinking that because of the tempo that Bloodyface would gain by getting the essentially free trade onto the Undertaker, if he didn't draw it right away, or let's say the Undertaker went to the bottom part of his deck, he doesn't have really ways to fight on board. So maybe Bloodyface wins from that scenario just by trucking for 7 each turn. If he finds a way to deal with the 7/7 that comes out. I don't know.
I feel like this is the turn to kill Undertaker. I feel like this is absolutely the turn to kill Undertaker here.
This game swung around very quickly.
The face damage doesn't matter. The Undertaker has lifesteal for the rest of the game, and now Roger gets to land Sound the Bells on it to make it like a million, and then Bloodyface is going to have a really tough time handling it for the rest of the game. I think this was the turn to kill it as a nod specifically to Sound the Bells. But again, to have the presence of mind to be considering all of those factors. Whoa. What? I mean, I get it's for the Death Rattle on the Undertaker. I forgot that it retains all the Death Rattle buffs.
Yep.
So it has Immortal Prelate attached eternally for it. Is that correct? Because the Immortal Prelate text is part of that, right?
Yeah, you're
I am
right.
foolish, and I apologize. I'm a Philistine.
I don't know what that word means.
It means I'm an uncultured, uncouth swine. Or something along those lines.
Yeah, the Undertaker, when it's played, it doesn't give you the 3 death rattles that it initially had. Because of the Immortal Prelate, it keeps it forever.
Yeah.
Yep. That's just correct. That's just 100% correct. And because it keeps everything forever, that means that all of these mechs were just death rattles that kept building up and building up. And he knows that the brawls are gone, so he knows that he wins.
Yeah. I feel foolish now.
Well, I do too. Let's just retire now. Go out while we're on the bottom. Yeah.
Self-destruct!
To be perfectly honest, I've just never actually seen it happen.
I'd like to make the excuse that it's not something you see every day. But I don't think even that makes up for it.
I forgot it just kept stacking them on.
So as we take a step back, we can confidently say that Roger played that game very well.
Yeah. Which means also bloodyface played that game pretty well. You gotta try to kill him. Forgive me. Actually, don't forgive me. Hold that to me.
All right, well, I mean, we've kind of alluded to this all along, that it was going to come down to whether or not bloodyface could find a win with the Warrior, and it's all going to come down to game number 5, a good old-fashioned Control Warrior mirror. Before we jump into that game number 5, we're going to have to go to a quick break, so don't go anywhere. More HCT World Championship right after this. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the HCT Winter Championship. 16 of the greatest players in the world have gathered this weekend to compete for $250,000 in prizes, and of course, the final 4 spots at the HCT World Championship.
I know that this might be my last HCT experience, so I did prepare a lot, but I was a little bit nervous.
Now is the time that I can completely focus on Hearthstone. I'm not about slacking off just because I can.
And Bunny Hopper is going to finish off the clean sweep.
This even Paladin, he's just getting stomped, to be completely honest. A couple of bad draws from Tonsoku.
I love playing wacky games, and I don't know, I feel like that's naturally like what I have more fun doing, and when you have more fun doing something, you generally do it better.
Frostwolf Warlord, trade-off on the board. Fatigue's gonna set in, and Thunderup's done for.
You know, level 2 Ike is pretty strong. Doesn't matter if they're stealth or not, but regardless, Viper has 3 Malagoose in a Sinister Strike, and he leads 2-0 in this match.
Yeah, that's brutal. My lineup is very polarized against the majority of people. Jing is one of the, I think, 2 or 3 people in the entire field I'm very uncomfortable against.
The quarterfinals!
Worlds spot on the line for Jing in this one. Viper's already going through the Worlds. And his play, honestly, looked pretty impeccable to me throughout this. I am extremely impressed with Jing, and a wonderful representative for China in the World Championship.
Yeah, it's going to be Roger versus Definition. Puts on the Doomsayer, but that's not going to do a darn thing. Which means that Roger is going to end this game, take the series 3-1, and move on to the top 4 with a spot at the World Championship.
The semi-final.
Bunny Hopper doesn't even need to draw more cards. There is nothing Jing can do about these constant pings, and there is the concede.
Roger, he will end that struggle. Mind Blast the face, ping, Mind Blast, and that is it. Roger is moving on to the finals.
This is it. Bunny Hopper versus Roger. Bunny Hopper looking for his 2nd seasonal title in just this year. And Bunny Hopper just scraping to try to stay alive.
Concede.
2-0 for Roger.
Malagos. It's the only minion.
That's the only minion. It's Velen and Malygos. Those are the only two.
Velen and Malygos. Yeah, Velen and Malygos. Only minions in the deck.
That's it. Roger's digging deep. He's thinking, he goes, I didn't misremember this, right? And you see him counting it. This is not the time to mess that up. There's the Malygos. Roger, 10 damage from the Mind Blast, is the aggressor somehow in the matchup and becomes the Winter Champion.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the HCT World Championship. I'm TJ, once again joined by the Admiral. That's Admirable.
Yo.
Game number 5. It's all come down to this. Bloodyface on his Control Warrior, Roger on his Bomb Control Warrior hybrid. Basically a warrior deck that's designed to beat other warriors is essentially what it boils down to.
Yeah, cut down to 1 copy of Brawl. There are 0 warpaths in the deck. He's got the full bomb package. He's got a green skin to make even more bombs with Wrench Caliber. And he's got Archivist Elysiana and Baleful Banker.
That's right.
To take it the distance.
And the glorious part about it all is that he doesn't have the Undertaker, so me and Admirable can't screw it up again.
Oh, yeah.
A sigh of relief.
I'm sorry.
But strap in, because this one, while we talked about how the last one had a very small chance to go to turn timer, and a lot of weird stuff had to happen for that to be the case.
It was extremely unlikely.
It had to be Bloodyface ripping Elysiana very early on and just ripping a silence to get rid of the Undertaker.
In this matchup, it's very different. It is the inability for either player to effectively apply pressure and thus a reliance on fending off fatigue for an insane number of turns. This matchup is, I'd say, a lot more technical for Bloodyface than the previous 2 have been, where the other ones are more demanding of creative play and opportunity. This one is much more demanding, I think, of technical play, where there's a few rules, I think, that Bloodyface needs to keep in mind. It's number 1, Weapons Project, I think, is probably entirely unusable until he sees a Wrench Caliber. He needs to be negating those bombs. The other one is that I think he is free to draw a little bit more aggressively. I think with the additional 20 cards you can get from Archivist Elysiana, you have a lot more reasonable opportunity.
Well, they both have ways to get 20 more cards from Elysiana.
Correct. It's just hard to go to fatigue, so if you need to cycle aggressively, so be it. And then number 3, because the rule for this game is turn timer, that extra life means a whole lot.
Yep.
So how do you maximize all those factors? Chip damage matters. Tempo matters. Saving tools for the exact time you need them matters.
Defend the gates.
It's a bunch of trading back and forth.
These town criers just...
They're getting in that damage.
And it's honestly, there is a strategic measure to not trading with your town criers ever. And that big strategic measure is that if Roger's not going to be the one to trade first, you can't be the one to trade back, because then it just seeds over additional damage to Roger's side. Now, Bloodyface not using the other militia commander here, that is a bit of a question mark for me. It opened him almost exactly to Darius Crowley in this spot, so now there is a bit of pressure on that he has to consider.
Yeah. Ends up working out for him, because now he gets to trade this militia commander into the Darius Crowley.
Yeah, working out for him, I think, is a...
well, it could have snowballed. That's all I'm saying.
Well, it's just the chip damage adds up now.
Yeah.
Advantage Roger. Things just got serious.
Yeah. We talked at length about the inclusion of Captain Greenskin in this list.
Well, I mean, a lot of that I think Roger just anticipates Bloodyface being wise enough to just hang on to weapons projects until the right time.
Yeah, weapons projects. He also has the Harrison Jones, as we can see in the hand. I don't think Captain Greenskin is ever meaningfully landing on Wrench Caliber unless you Wrench Caliber 4, Greenskin on 5. The maximum chance to dodge the Weapons Projects and Harrison.
So something to consider is that there's 2 Heckle bots in Bloodyface's deck. The Elysiana is now in hand, so he can't deny that, but he can still deny Baleful Banker with the Heckle bot.
Yeah. Which is a pretty big deal.
Ooh, yeah, you see how Bloodyface, he reached for the Weapons Project here and slowed himself down. I think he does need to slow down here and really take his time, because you're going to have to eliminate Wrench Calibers. You do have a Harrison Jones. You know, maybe just going for Weapons Project and Harrison here for card draw is a realistic thing. But that's extra bombs for Roger somewhere down the road.
Yeah. Still has 1 Weapons Project left in the deck, so he's got an answer to one of them. But just feeling like he needs to start drawing aggressively. And Roger's got a big tempo game plan in the works right now. Sephorian Bomber, Shield Slam, keep pushing additional damage.
The 5/5 body's lining up super nice. Bloodyface going into 8 mana with Warpath. Ooh, that is clean.
Yeah. Now, Bloodyface still at a healthy life total. He's not in any risk of dying, even with all the bombs in the deck.
Yeah, I mean, you're pretty free to use Brawl fairly aggressively in the matchup.
It's going to be a poor card.
Yeah, it's
a lot of the time.
This is a poor scenario as well. I mean, 2 of the outcomes, your opponent keeps a 5/5 around. So, you know, Brawl feels a little bit more like Deadly Shot here for the most part. However, you know, there's a very big outcome with Brawl, and it's the 1/2 living. If the 1/2 lives, that Brawl looks golden. It's not Brawl this turn. I imagine Darius Crowley would come in to try to buy some value. However,
that's a lot of damage you're taking.
Yes, and 1 more piece of removal can really shut that down. I think if I'm in Bloodyface's spot here, one of my biggest considerations is probably Brawl, and if that fails, to go a different route with it. This is also an outcome that Bloodyface is okay with. And is attacking with the Weapons Project as a nod to Harrison Jones.
Yep. At this point, he doesn't really want Roger drawing cards, but that just means he gets closer to more of those bomb cards. Continuing the tempo.
Yeah, but this opens Roger up for finally the first alleviation for Bloodyface. He's taking a lot of damage in the meantime. And that raised the hand there as a call for an admin, so there is something in place.
Yep.
We'll get word of what that is shortly and hopefully get the issue sorted as quickly as possible.
Yep.
Looking at the current board state, though, it's pretty lined up for Bloodyface to Warpath 3 times, hit the armor button.
In the same seat as Hunter Ace from earlier, I imagine it's something with the white noise, as is the problem that we dealt with in the previous winners match between Hunter Ace and Just Saying. So we'll get confirmation on that in a few moments and see if we can get back into the game.
Yeah. So far, I think it's looking decent for Bloodyface. He didn't take too much damage from a pair of Sephorian Bombers, the early tempo advantage that Roger had. And I think all things considered, he has a fighting chance in this one to really get there. You know, the Heckle bots showing up sooner rather than later, I think could be a big difference right now. Like, just getting extra bomb activators out of the deck and whatnot. To me, the big expenditure so far has been the Weapons Project and Harrison Jones. So he does need to dig for Dr. Boom, and that, I think, is the major thought process in that regard. The earlier you find Dr. Boom, the better chance you have to actually win that game. So I don't mind the card draw there, but it's certainly a pretty hefty expenditure considering that you're still looking at 2 copies of Wrench Caliber. Maybe it's because the green skin's gone, so he knows that blowing up the second one means that the maximum it does is 2 charges. There's never a 3-charge Wrench Caliber in there.
Yeah.
Just a lot of little things. I mean, that's what Control Warrior mirrors are about.
Yeah, it's about stacking up the chip damage early on. It's about recognizing whether you're the aggressor or the control player. And the deck lists kind of tell it all when you look at it. This is the bomb cards versus no bomb cards, but still could matter in the long run.
Yeah, the bomb stacks are definitely scary. And I think that's one of the reasons why Bloodyface is so willing to draw aggressively early on is there's a reasonable chance that you have to go for Archivist Elysiana before your deck is down to the bare bones minimum, because sometimes you get to replace a number of bombs with that, and that just buys you a lot of extra health. Opting to use the last charge and go for Dynamatic. Also wise, considering that that Roger just really has no way to take a tempo advantage of this. Right now, this 3-4 sticks on board and threatens to chip away. Omega Assembly might have something to say about that.
Yeah. I was about to say, Roger's run a little low on resources. Clockwork Goblin picked up.
Yeah, the other two, you know, terrible. But
yeah,
and the Clockwork Goblin,
shield block used. Dr. Boom not online. Armageddon's very limited.
Job's done.
These bombs could start mattering. I believe there's 3 in the deck now. That'd be 4 with the second swing of Wrench Caliber, 5 with the Clockwork Goblin.
Face me.
Time for the Hecklebot.
Well, you got to kill that one.
Yep.
But you got a pretty good card to do it with. I'm going to start counting the 4 goes of armor that each player has.
Whew. Count the bombs for me, too.
There's 3 right now?
I believe so. 2 C4 bombers and 1 swing of Wrench Caliber.
Yep.
No bombs have been drawn.
Light the fuses!
4 bombs.
Yep.
Lethal potential here for Roger.
I was kind of wondering why he played it this way, and this is literally the reason.
I don't know. That's a long shot.
Why
man.
would you just swing with the Wrench Caliber like that?
You have to call me admirable?
I was going to say, like, just after what's been going on, like, just wait.
He's got another Wrench Caliber in hand, though.
So I'm itching to use it.
His game plan is very obvious right now. He's losing in the resource battle. He's winning in the health battle.
What now?
Next turn, he's going Clockwork Goblin, Wrench Caliber, and he's saying,
deal with it.
Light me up, baby.
What now?
What happens if Bloodyface just tempos out 2 Omega Devastators? Like, you just blow up 2 things, and you go, wow, this is 8 attack. I think that's the best course of action here, honestly.
What else does he do? Warpath Armor Up?
I think it's reasonable. Do the Omega Devastators down the line.
Not too much big stuff in the deck. Except for...
The thing is, just use your spells first.
Yeah.
And then...
Now, one thing we haven't talked about, with all these bombs in the deck, Blastmaster Boom is a big card.
Yeah, Roger's under some heat here. I mean, 8 damage is nothing to scoff at.
He is at a comfortable 43 health.
The 8 Eternal changed that quick. Remember, there's no Warpath, there's 1 Brawl in Roger's deck.
Job's done.
5 bombs in the deck.
6 bombs in the deck.
That's 6? Oh,
2
the Clockwork Goblin.
bombs.
There we go.
2 Wrench Calibers, 1 Clockwork Goblin, and 1 additional swing.
Oh, 5 bombs in the deck.
Oh, that Dr. Boom?
Ooh. Major pickup for Bloodyface.
That was...
Laser to take out the 3-3, and now 8 damage gets to connect with Roger. So 5 bombs left in Bloodyface's deck. You could go up to 6 with the Wrench Caliber. And boy, I wish I had the card count on that side, because this is important information.
Pretty sure our card counter just couldn't keep up. 9? 14.
So 5 of Bloodyface's 14 cards are bombs.
So after this turn, if he swings the Wrench Caliber, it'll be 6 out of 15.
So just over a third of the deck. Roger, armor up button. he's thinking about passing here. I don't know about that one.
So there is a 4-bomb breakpoint available. That's very low odds. Very low odds.
I think you take him.
We sort of jokingly talked about this before the tournament took place.
There's no way he's considering Elysiana.
He's still got Blastmaster Boom in his deck.
Yeah, there's no way he can play Elysiana here. I don't believe that. I mean, this hand is very dry right now. Celiax gets drawn.
Oh my goodness.
Huge draw for bloodyface.
7 heal.
11 damage, 12 from the kaboom.
Now the bombs just don't even matter.
I mean,
he doesn't have a way to deal with this Omega Devastator buffed by Celiax.
Oh boy. Big draw. Low outcome. Extremely low outcome. I think Roger has to go for a brawl here. He's got to throw the Demolisher in there. He needs every point of chance he can get. This brawl is huge right now. Roger covers his face. He can't bear to watch. What? The Celiax Omega Devastator lives, and Roger is about to get Omega Devastated. Another Devastator.
Just add insult to injury. Shield
5
blocks
bombs
into
left.
a bomb.
Hang on, there's only 5 bombs left. So there is 0% chance bloodyface could die in that position. And he actually was thinking about it. If he takes enough damage, what that means is that he can heal some of it back up.
Yeah. He's basically negating every opportunity that Roger would have to have some type of bomb lethal. Even if
Roger he's gonna die. Something's gotta happen here. And it's gotta be now. He does not have time to mess around anymore. You think about those tempo shield slams and the chip damage he got in. How badly did he need those shield slams now?
What now?
Warrior matchups are about patience and deliberance. I said it at the start, it's much more technical play. And I think Roger had a good aggressive start. At some point, though, perhaps he might have gotten too aggressive. Roger concedes, and bloodyface moves out of the group and defeats what many were calling an unwinnable matchup for the Control Warrior players.
And out of all the players in the group, I honestly think that bloodyface's Warrior was the least positioned to be able to take the series against Roger. He has no silences in his deck. He has no real way to gain early tempo. And despite all that, with 3 chances, finally gets it in the Warrior mirror.
I am speechless.
And you can see the sigh of relief that bloodyface gave as he got up to go for the handshake with Roger at the end of that matchup. He even said, everybody in that group said, I don't think my decks can beat Roger. I don't think that I'm ever going to win with Control Warrior. We even talked about how Roger cleaned up his deck, made a Warrior deck that's pretty much specifically designed to beat the type of Control Warriors that bloodyface brought.
I'm thinking tempo greenskin looked weird to me. I'm thinking all the tempo shield slams looked weird to me. I'm thinking not saving Alec for bomb shuffles looks weird to me. I think a lot of things can go differently based on one small play, and that butterfly effect changes the landscape at every step of the way. But now we've seen that the anti-Warrior lineup can bleed. Roger moves down to the decider match where he'll face the winner of Tyler and Viper. Bloodyface yet again shows why he is one of the best in the world.
And one of the problems for Roger that I see on the bottom side of that bracket is that Viper, he doesn't even have Warrior.
No, he does not.
So he's going to be sitting there really hoping that Tyler wins that matchup against Viper so he can try and get a rematch and do exactly what he did in the first match. But if Viper moves out of that, Roger, who was looking like the clear favorite for that group, could be in some trouble.
Yes, and I agree that it is now some cracks begin to show in that lineup. And boy, is that going to be a tough day and a tough night you're going to have there because you were supposed to win.
Yeah. Really brutal series, a long one as well, but bloodyface ends up being the player that moves on from the group, defeating Roger 3-2. All 6 matches are in the books for today, but we still got a little bit more left for you. Admiral and I are going to be bringing you the post-show for day 2 of the HCT World Championship. We are going to have to go to a quick break, but stick around, because after the break, we're going to break down day number 2.